Okay, so 2026 is here. We're kicking off a new year. And for me, that means a couple of things. Historically, this is when I close off my books to do any sort of like shop maintenance or upgrades. And so that's what I'm going to be working on this week. But the new thing for me is this YouTube channel. And I actually was able to start off the year with over 1,000 subscribers. And when I started this YouTube channel, I really didn't know what to expect, but I definitely, that exceeded my expectations. And so I was truly surprised in the best way. I just wanted to say thank you. I really appreciate everybody who has subscribed and who watches my content. And I promise that I will improve. With every video, it's my goal to do something better. So I just thought now might be a good time for like an introduction and a shop tour. And so let me show you around. Okay, so I feel like my shop really speaks to who I am and how I got here. So my name is Bethany, as you might have guessed, and I have a small woodworking business that I run out of my home garage. I got into woodworking, I guess in short, because I became a mother. And before I did this for a living, I was a systems administrator for a defense contractor here. And once I had my son, I just knew that I'd rather be at home with him than in a server room. So I quit working, but I like a real job, and then I stayed at home with him. And while I was at home, I just started doing like home improvement projects and slowly accumulated tools and kind of things escalated from there. And so I really loved making furniture. And then I had a lot of friends and family ask me to make them furniture. And so it came to this point where I was really busy making everybody else's projects. And I was starting to, like, by word of mouth, people who weren't actually my direct friends and family were also asking me to make them things. And so it was at that point when I was working for people I didn't actually really know that I thought, like, maybe I could do this for a living. Maybe I can make this into a business. And so when my son started school, I was presented with the opportunity to go back to my old job, but there was something in my head that just kept thinking like, maybe you could start a woodworking business. While it felt like really silly and a big risk, I went ahead with that option and decided to try my starting my own business. And so that's what I did, and here I am. So, my garage, I work out of my home, and I really prefer that to a commercial space or something located elsewhere because that means that I can get out here and work whenever I have the chance. And so, like, I usually am up and getting started by 3 a.m. every day. And so I like just being able to walk out my front door and come out here and work. This originally was a shared space. When I started doing this just as a hobby, I was like most woodworkers where you're like backing the car out of the garage, rolling out your saws and getting started. But once I formally started a business, I took the first money that I made and I bought a shed and I moved our family's things out to the shed and I turned this into my workshop. There's like tons of different styles of workbenches, depending kind of, I think, on what you do. But the bulk of what I do is furniture and usually large furniture. So what I really wanted was a big flat assembly table. And my dad came out last year and helped me with my shop upgrades. We did a lot of work. And one of the things that we did is we modified a workbench that I had already built. And what the big key factors for me is that it's on wheels and that it's dual purpose because I'm somewhat limited on space. So this is at the same height as my table saw, so I can use it as outfeed. It's big enough that I can do really big assemblies on it. The top is replaceable. Like I just replaced it so that once like enough glue has stuck to it or it's been damaged, I can just pop it off and put a new one on. It's nice and flat. And then there's storage down there. Okay, so over here is my miter saw station. And there's a lot of great videos about miter saw station builds and lots of different options out there. But I'm just going to show you some of the key components that I used and that I really, really like. So I put doors on it because I was hoping to keep dust out of the cabinet. But one mistake I made is it was shop furniture, so I didn't think it mattered. I didn't put a back on these. And so dust gets in from behind. So I don't think that this has really helped me like I had planned. But I like having, I have everything on these roller trays. And so I can pull my shelves out and get to whatever I need. And I find that that is really useful. The other thing I did that I think was the way to go is instead of putting like an extended fence here, I just installed this T-track. And the reason for that, I think I got that idea from the Wood Whisperer, if I'm remembering correctly. But you don't need a really long fence to reference when you're making a cut at your miter saw. You just need to reference your tools fence. And so the only reason I put the T-track is so that I have this little stop and I can make repeatable cuts. And so it works for that, but then I don't have this big thing interfering with a work surface. So I think it's the way to go. And then I did it offset. So here I can fit boards up to 10 feet long. And then on this side, I would say like around 6. So I'm able to break down even really long boards on this. My French cleat wall. I also highly recommend this. It's a cheap way to do very versatile storage and it's really secure. I just have stuff out on here that I use all the time. So like my tape measurers, handsaws, tape, whatever. One piece of advice that I will give is if you're a woodworker, you need to keep a pair of tweezers handy because it comes up all the time. So I just have them mounted to a magnet here on this little piece that sits in there. Oh, my husband gave me like a first aid kit that has a tourniquet in it. Maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. And then I have things like this back from when my son used to come out here and work with me, little things that he made me over the years. This one over here also. Okay, so back here is my lumber storage, and I don't love this setup, but I don't really know. I've tried a couple of things. Most of them are like some sort of a rack, and I just never, I didn't love any of it. The racks, what I really hated is that it was like impossible to get to the stuff in the back and you're moving things all the time. And my wood supplier, he stands up all of his materials, so I thought I would give that a shot. I don't really love this either, but in the absence of something better, it's fine. So I built these little ones for like all my little offcuts because we all have those. And I built a platform just to keep everything off of the cement. But I am still interested in a better system. If y'all have ideas, I'm open to them. Over here is like the last remnants of this shared space idea. I couldn't move this freezer out because we don't have electricity in the shed, so it has to stay, but it's all right. Oh, this probably also speaks to who I am. These are weights that I do not use to exercise. They usually hold my door open back here, and this goes to my backyard. And I actually really like this because I can open this and my garage door and get a nice cross breeze. And I also feel like it helps to keep like dust out of the air a little bit. Okay, so over here is like my hardware storage, my screws and stuff like that. Like my hand tools that I just don't use that frequently, things like a jigsaw and an angle grinder and stuff like that. The these small part storage things, this is like a Frankenstein of a cart that I had bought from Harbor Freight. It used to be like this open mobile small parts cart, and it would just collect so much dust. And so when I moved kind of off of the mobile system in my garage, I decided to build these cabinets, and I kept all these little containers because they are very handy. Like you can just grab what you need and carry it over to your project or whatever. And then, so what I did is I took the cleats off of the cart and just screwed them to the back of the cabinet. And so I still store using their system. But now it's enclosed so that I don't get as much dust and stuff like that in there. Um, this is a drill press. and my neighbor was clearing out his garage, so I bought it off of him. And I haven't done much to it. My goal this week is to build a drill press table so that it's more of a woodworking tool than a metalworking tool. Over here is my drum sander, which has been featured on many of my videos so far. And I really have a love-hate relationship with this sander. Um, when I started out, I really thought that cutting boards were going to be like my bread and butter. And so I went ahead and bought one of these. And I will say I've made enough cutting boards that I think it's paid for itself. But I have contemplated selling it and trading it for a lathe because I really want to learn how to do lathe work. So I don't know, it's still on my mind. I might do it. And then all over the floor, I'm sure you can see my garage floor is a total disaster. Um, I just don't care that much. And a lot of it, I don't know, is somewhat sentimental. Like all of this is from, again, when my son used to come out here and work with me and paint his little projects. And so, you know, when I see it, I just kind of see him out here. Okay, so over here I have my router table and my planer, and I do keep these on wheels because they're so messy that I try to get them out of the garage when I run them. Um, I I don't love my router table. I built it in a hurry because I needed it for a project, and it does a good enough job that I'm not highly motivated to redo it, but there's like a lot about it that kind of annoys me. I don't have good dust collection. It doesn't have good storage. I don't love the router that is in here. Um, but it works, you know. Oh, it's also a little bit too tall because when I built it, I didn't really think about putting it on wheels. And so it's, you know, maybe 3 or 4 inches too high for me to work comfortably. Um, with all of that being said, though, I love routers. They're one of my favorite tools. I think that they're super versatile. You can like joint boards with them. You can do template routing. You can obviously cut grooves and dados and do a lot of joinery with them. You you could even surface things with them, you know, if you make a little jig. I just think that they're super handy. And if you're starting out, you don't need to buy some super big, high powered router. You can probably find a decent one that will get the job done for you for under $100. So I hate this one. This is a rigid, and this was the first one that I bought. And I bought this way back in the day. The only tools I owned at that point were a miter saw and a circular saw. And I bought it just so that you have an idea of how versatile they are because I was making a king size canopy bed. And so with those three tools, I was able to make a king size canopy bed. And so I didn't really know a lot about tools and I just bought like the cheapest one. So I wouldn't recommend this one at all. For trim routers, I really love my little DeWalt. I think it works great. And so you can get a lot done with a router. And then this is my planer. So again, I bought this when I was still like kind of a hobbyist, and it is a hobbyist tool, but I will say it is a real workhorse. I would recommend this without reservation to anyone. Um, I have put thousands of linear feet through this thing, and it just keeps chugging along. Um, when it does go out though, or maybe before, I am going to replace it with a 20-inch planer though. Like I said, most of my work is furniture. And the most common things that I make are like console tables and bookcases. And usually those are at depths of about 18 inches. So right now, if I have a really big top or anything like that, there's a commercial shop not far from me, and I just carry it down there and pay them to surface those for me. But I would like to start doing those in-house. So that will be probably the next big tool that I buy. This is all the electrical that me and my dad did. He came out, like I said, he came out last year to help me, and this was a real game changer. Before he came, I had one 20 amp outlet that I had installed for a treadmill, and then I had a 15 amp outlet that my freezer sat on. And so I had no power out here. He came out here, and now we've put, you know, outlets maybe every 3 feet. I can leave things plugged in. This has just really helped my workflow. And so we also ran 240, so I'm ready for that bigger planer whenever, you know, whenever I decide to upgrade. This is my bandsaw, and this is very sentimental to me because I would say this is like my first real like woodworking saw that I bought. Because the miter saw is more to me like a general construction thing, and this is where you're starting to like hone in on woodworking. As far as bandsaws go, though, I do love it. I think it does great. It's a grizzly, so it's not anything super high end, but it gets the job done. I think that it has like a resaw capacity of like 6 or 8 inches, and so that can handle like 90% of the work that I need. Um, and then over here is just like a tool chest for like your screwdrivers and your wrenches and things like that. For the one of my most used tools, the persuasion mallet. And then this is my clamp rack. So I used to have a mobile clamp cart, and I hated it. I tried 2 different versions, and my floors are in such bad shape that they would like jostle when I would move it, and the clamps would fall off and like hit me, and it was just not good. So when I did my French cleats and started making more things stationary in my shop, I just decided that I was going to put my clamps on a wall, and I haven't regretted it. So I can move things around a little bit as needed because of the French cleat system. It's probably obvious that I prefer pipe clamps and F clamps. And these I probably use for like 90% of my work. And then the other 10%, I use band clamps. So my advice to anybody when you're starting out woodworking is you might want to try out a few different clamps or whatever, but really when you find one that you like, invest in the same kind of clamp. Because used to I had all sorts of clamps, but whenever you're doing assembly, you want things that are at the same height. So once I tried these Bessie clamps, I really loved them, and so that's what I buy now. As far as F clamps go, my favorite are actually these Harbor Freight clamps. um, so here's the thing. Harbor Freight clamps, yes, every now and again you're going to get a miss, but they have a lifetime warranty on your clamp. So if it starts messing up on you, you just walk into the store and they give you a new one. And so to me, it can't be beat, right? Okay, so which brings us to my favorite tool, my table saw. And just so you are aware, I have never run like not even a single cut on anybody else's table saw, on any other table saw. This is the only table saw that I've ever used. So I have no perspective. But what I can say is I absolutely love my table saw. So um, leading up to me wanting to start my business, I didn't own a table saw. So all of the projects that I had made, like that king size bed, a few console tables, a coffee table, I did not have a table saw. And I knew though, if I wanted to start my business, I was going to have to get one because woodworking is hard to turn a profit on and you have to be pretty efficient. And I just knew that having a table saw would increase my efficiency a lot. But I was also very scared of running a table saw. I know how dangerous they can be. Um, well, no, the table saw is not what's dangerous. User error is what's dangerous. And I know myself, and according to y'all's comments, like, I have a lot that I can improve upon. But I just was really scared to buy a regular table saw. So I knew if I bought one that I was wanting a saw stock. But they're also like pretty expensive. And so I was just in this place where it's like I wanted to start my woodworking business, but I didn't have confidence it was going to work out. So I didn't want to invest the money into it. And so I just kept doing this like spiral thing. And then one day my mom just sent me the table saw that I wanted for my birthday so that I could start my business. And so this is that. I've done a lot of modifications to it since then, but at the heart, this is still the same saw that my mom gave me. So this is the contractor saw. It's not a cabinet saw. And at the time, it was the biggest motor that I could run. So, I had that 120 amp circuit and that was it. It gets all of my work done. I will say on like really dense woods at bigger thicknesses, it can bog down a little. The upgrades that I have done, I have put a lot of money in upgrades. First thing that I did is I replaced the stamped wings with cast irons, and that made a huge difference in stability and then also having this really nice flat work surface that you can check things for, like, I don't know, I check for things for flat on this all the time. And it just feels nice and heavy. So I think that that was definitely money well spent. The other thing I upgraded was my fence. The aluminum fence that comes with it does suck, like just straight up. So I would recommend getting the T-Glide fence, or even another, if you can find something else that's compatible with your saw. I definitely recommend upgrading your fence. When I upgraded my fence, I also got this extension table, and I went with the 52-inch because at the time the 36 was out of stock. So this is maybe like a little bit bigger than I need, but you know, more work surface. Who's going to complain about that, right? Um, let's see, I also don't use the SawStop blades. I don't like their blades. I usually run like CMT. I find that for the price point, they really can't be beat. I love them. So um, I recently got this sliding table, which I just got this all dialed in, so I don't really know how it works or if I would recommend it yet. But I now have it functioning where, you know, I can cut really big panels. So that will be nice to have, especially once furniture construction commences. I also installed a dust port on there for my shop vac. One thing I really do want to look at upgrading is my dust collection. I don't have any. I have a shop vac. And so I have seen a video, White Lion Woodworks put one out about a grizzly dust collection system, like for small shops. And so I think I might go with something like that. I still haven't quite like landed on something, so I'm still figuring it out. Oh, but what I will say about my shop vac, because I had to replace it this year, this new one, like I had never seen anything like this. But maybe I'm just late to the game. Um, and it makes perfect sense. But anyway, the top of it pops off, and then they have this little extension here that turns it into a leaf blower. And so this has made dusting out the shop really fast. And I mean, I think that this vacuum was like $100. So, you know, I would totally recommend doing that. Okay, well, that's pretty much it. This is my shop. So coming up, my first commission this year is going to be a coffee table. So that's what we'll be working on next week. So I hope to see you then. And again, thank you for subscribing and watching.